Hi, here we are, dreaming of chess mastery. I'm resurrecting my old channel, which has been lying dormant for a few years. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a post-COVID thing. I can't remember. But anyway, I thought I'm in a bit of an adult chess improvement slump, so maybe making these films again will re-energize me. Something different. Engage with some new people. Find some unexpected motivation. Who knows? Let's see. I'll give it a go. I'm Neil Priest. After many years of not playing chess, I slowly drifted back into the game, and then, like so many other people, perhaps inspired by the Queen's Gambit, or perhaps just tired of playing pointless and very bad games of Blitz online, I decided to take studying seriously. I'd say again, but I'm not sure if I ever really did study properly, even when I was playing a lot of competitive chess. But today we have so many possibilities for learning and improving. It seems a pity to waste them. So here we are. I thought I'd begin the second version of, second wind of this video series by really going back to the most fundamental of questions. Why do we play chess at all? I think it's an important question to answer because, and certainly has been for me lately, because as I say, I've found my motivation waning a little recently, and looking at why you're playing chess is perhaps a solution to that problem, or the start of finding the solution. And if I go all the way back to when I went from playing chess as just a thing that you learnt to do when you were a kid, to playing chess, I suppose, seriously, buying chess books, studying them, playing in tournaments, all that sort of thing. If I dig into that time, what really motivated me? Well, that's a good question. And there's no denying part of it was a sort of ego-driven thing. I found that I was quite good at chess. Well, good relative to all the other children in primary school, at our school and in our local district. And there's no getting away from it. It's nice beating people, winning more than you lose, beating your friends. And then as I learned a little bit more and started playing tournaments, started getting feedback. I never really had a coach, but getting feedback from more experienced players, improving. Well, that becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, or a self-generating motivator. You learn a bit more, so you get better results, so you become more motivated to study more and get better results. And so it was. But I think it points to a real problem that all of us have, that sooner or later, this sort of extrinsic motivation, our motivation for chess being fueled by winning, or in a more abstract sense, as we become part of the wider chess community, improving our chess rate, that sort of thing. And if you're lucky enough, winning tournaments and prizes. Perhaps luck's got nothing to do with it, but you know what I mean. If those extrinsic motivators are the real reason we're playing chess, sooner or later, we are going to hit a wall. The dreaded plateau of improvement. Or simply the fact that there is some sort of ceiling within the community that we're playing, which will kind of limit our ultimate growth, or limit the growth of almost everybody. Of course, there's that precious elite few. But for most of us, sooner rather than later, we will hit a wall. And if the thing that was driving us was winning, if that was our big motivator, then at that point, losing or not improving, or as is the case with me at the moment, actually getting worse in some sense, at least my rating's been falling, well, that's the big demotivator. And what to do about that? Well, one answer to that question came from a very interesting thinker, Benjamin Porteau, who has a newsletter, Mindcreaser. Benjamin, I don't think, is a particularly strong chess player. He is, however, a performance coach, and he has worked with amongst other people, the English men's and women's, perhaps just the women's, chess Olympiad teams. So he's very familiar with chess. And in one of his articles, he talks about a system of motivation which goes by the acronym ICED. And that stands for intent, commitment, effort, and discipline. And what I want to just talk about today, focus on, is intent, the why we play chess. And by the way, please excuse the hopping around. I have another YouTube channel, and people who are familiar with me on that will know I film my videos in this garden, and during the rainy season we are in the northeast of Brazil. We are inundated with little midges and the like, mosquitoes that drive me crazy. But I decided that I was going to get out in the fresh air for these videos. It's something different, certainly different to the average chess YouTuber, where they're sitting in an office in front of a screen with a shelf of books behind them. Nothing like that for me on this channel. So there we are. Anyway, back to the content. Benjamin talks about intention, and what he's talking about is the real driver, the reason we actually like playing chess. Beyond just the momentary sort of rush, adrenaline or dopamine or whatever other sort of hormonal rush we might get from winning games. The deeper reason why we love playing chess. And that certainly got me thinking. That's not an easy question to answer. If I was to put it to you, why do you love playing chess? Well, and obviously the answer is, well, I enjoy the game. I mean, that's the question. And it's not, I think, simply good enough to say, well, it's a challenging game. I think you've got to look a little bit more deeply. And it struck me that perhaps the answer lies. We'll find the answer by asking ourselves a sort of a prompting question. So if you can't quite come up with the reason, ask yourself this. Try and think of the games in your life, and you can go as far back as you like, or recently, partly depending on your memory. Perhaps you can look them up. But think of the games that gave you most satisfaction, that kind of gave you the most pleasure, that you enjoyed playing the most. They might not necessarily have been ones that you won. They don't have to be ones where you necessarily accomplished anything that other people would have noticed. And in fact, if you think of a particular game, and the reason that's the game you think of is it was the biggest win you ever had, perhaps that's not the game that you need to be thinking of. What I'm talking about is a game where you felt most alive, most connected, most engaged. Perhaps if you're familiar with the work of Csikszentmihalyi, where you are most in a state of flow. Or perhaps it's where creatively you felt most fulfilled. At any rate, I think you get the idea. When you think of these games, I suspect, as I did, you will find there's some sort of common denominator. For me, they were games, not necessarily ones where I sacrificed a lot of material, and not necessarily ones where I played particularly accurately, but games where there were unexpected twists and turns. Games that featured unlikely, unusual, visually arresting moves. And actually, when I think of other things that I do, that's probably true of those areas and when I feel kind of most creatively engaged and satisfied. So there it is. That starts to give me a sort of a sense of why I play chess. I look for a sort of aesthetic, unusual beauty in chess, something that I don't find so easily in other places. I certainly do find it in my other big activity that I sort of practice, that I do, and that is my sculpture. And when I focus on that, in a sense, that needs to be the core driver in everything I do with my chess. And certainly, as much as I want to become a better player, I need to ask myself, in what way will becoming a better player be in service to playing more creatively satisfying chess? Because that's really what I want to do. And I guess in a way, that is why a lot of the games that I lose are so disappointing. Because in many ways, they are, in terms of the actual quality, the content of the games, they're disappointing. They might be disappointing in terms of the result, but that's neither here nor there. I could probably put up with the result, and I think I do, if the games themselves were more interesting. So, thinking about that gives me an idea of the sort of activities that I need to engage in my chess style. Of course, not everything is going to tick all of these boxes at once, but certainly that could be a sort of a filter, a lens, through which I evaluate whether I choose to do one thing or another. So there we are. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and I'm going to start, as I try and rekindle my motivation, I'm not going to be so worried about whether something is necessarily going to accomplish short or medium term rating gains or the like. I am going to ask myself the question, is this going to satisfy me on a deeper, more creative, imaginative, aesthetic level? And who knows, maybe that will make the difference. Anyway, that's it for this week. I'm going to try and make these videos on a weekly basis, and next week, along with some reflection, I'll perhaps do something that is also a brief review, let's call it that, to give you an idea of whether in fact I managed to accomplish what I set out to do. So until next week, keep on enjoying your chess, and from my sunny garden in Brazil,